Hey, what's up guys? My name is John Silva. Today we're going to create a landscape that could be used as an inspiration for an MMO or a multiplayer game. In front of me I got a prepared beige canvas, and this is going to be a time-lapse video. We're going to jump right into it. Basically, the video is going to play the sped-up version of what I painted, and I'm just going to talk through this. The first step that I always do is set up the horizon line. That's the red line with the little cross in it. Honestly, I'm not really looking too much for accuracy. I just want to set up my eye level, and that's going to guide me through how I'm going to build from that point on. Establishing some basic shapes here, and honestly, more than anything, I'm thinking, what do I want to do? I have an idea, a rough idea. I know I want to be indoors, but I want something that would catch the eye. In this type of games like MMOs, there's always a lot of bridges and things like that, but they're always outside. And since I wanted the indoor, so why not having a a bridge inside of a palace or just a dome? Anything really in this case would be more likely a dome. Not much happening here, because at this point the most important is the fact that you're thinking what do you want to do. The idea is the most important. We're not creating well, we are creating a piece of art, but more than anything, this is something that could be used as an inspiration. So imagine that someone pitches an idea to you, and you go with roughly what they suggested, right? So if a client comes to you and like, oh, we want to create a place where could attract a lot of players, a lot of movement, things like that, but we don't really have a visual idea. We don't really have anything set yet. We're just kind of throwing ideas around, usually this kind of work is like pre-production work. It's like before anything exists really. It's just throwing ideas down, and that's what we are doing right now. Most of the time I'm just thinking rather than scribbling, because if I'm gonna scribble something that it's not really gonna match roughly what we already set up as a base, which is indoors and some kind of a bridge inside that would catch a lot of attention from players passing by, or as much attention as we possibly can. Now, right now, after I set up the silhouette, I was like, you know what, this is looking a little bit flat. Let's throw down some shadows, just to give a little bit more depth, to get the thinking going. I'm figuring out as I go. I do have an idea, but I'm letting my instincts just run wild and let them do what I want. Also, this bridge, since it's the main center, the main piece and the center of attention, I want to make sure that I establish at least two main shape languages. Now, as a landscape, and even just any kind of architecture, a good rule of thumb is to keep the shapes simple and unified. So don't, in this case, I have semicircle shapes and just straight down rectangles, you know, going down. And I stick to that pretty much throughout the whole piece. There's going to be a few variations later on, you'll be able to see. So yeah, right now I'm like, I have the main shape. I'm gonna build onto this so that from this one piece I can actually build everything else. I do that often where I draw one thing that I think it might look cool or it does look cool. I'm like, you know what? I want to follow that. Most of the times it's easier said than done, but I think it turned out all right in this case. I don't tend to start doing details, honestly, but here I was like, I wanna build a little, like more little shapes onto it. Give me a bit more inspiration, which is all this is about. This is not something that would be final. I mean, it could be, but most likely pre-production stuff is more of a mood setting, time setting, you name it. It's just to give an idea, and I really like that. I really like creating brand new ideas or inspired from others and build on from that. Right now I'm moving. I'm finding that the perspective is a little wonky on the left side, but then again, you know, I'm not really going to be too strict about perspective here, because to me it automatically becomes math. Yeah, that's straight up how it feels. It just feels like perspective equals math. So I want this to be organic. I want this to be flowing and cool looking, right? So that I could give this to other artists and they're like, you know what? This actually looks cool. I got more ideas from this. That's exactly what we want. We don't want, I mean, if it ends up being something that, oh, this is perfect, let's just build onto that, then it's awesome. But most likely, the number one priority is like, this looks really cool. Let's do more like that with a couple, most likely, with a couple of tweaks here and there, or even brand new ideas that were brought up thanks to a few inspiration or pre-production drawings like this. This is just one of many that could be done right now. Technically speaking, I duplicated those circle things that you see on, like right in the center. I just duplicated on a new layer that made it darker and used as oh, there you go. Yeah, use it as on the other side of the bridge. It also has those arch shapes, just to make the process faster. Also, this is I've been lately looking at some like old Final Fantasy kind of environment drawings that I came across Pinterest. It's like, you know what, that looks really awesome. That old style way of drawing. Right now I'm just using opaque paint, but later on I'll be doing a line art over this. But I'm like, you know, the way the architecture was made, and it was because the old Final Fantasy games, most likely, you know, on the PS1, PS2, the 3D had to be toned down. So a lot of the architecture actually had to be also toned down, thanks to, well, due to the fact that it occupies a lot of space in the disc if you want to be very detailed. And back then, you know, the resolutions had to be much smaller, both software wise and no, I mean hardware wise, and the screen itself, you know, wasn't high resolution either. Still doing a couple of details here and there. I might pause my talking for a minute or two if nothing much really happening. So here I decided, you know what, I have enough details. Let's start build up some. So I have my middle ground, my main centerpiece, you know, the most important thing to me. I'm like, you know what, let's build on some depth. How far or how big is this thing? How big, where are we, you know? That's also one of the first questions when doing this type of work. Like, where are we, you know? As a player, and you're looking at something cool from a cool angle, like, where do you want to be? If you have the liberty of actually deciding where you want to be, then it can become really exciting. So right now I'm just apparently messing with the perspective. I keep tweaking it over and over again, like all the time. But I tend to move away from it as fast as possible, because you can get stuck on it and then you forget about what you're doing. You just want to fix the drawing, and that's not what we want. With that said, I do fix a couple of things that will help the shot. Again, let's not forget, this is to give even more inspiration, to set some kind of goal, right? To set an idea. So making things look good obviously is gonna, you know, inspire all the other artists. If you give like a cool angle, you know, in terms of composition, I'm also thinking, as I was saying a minute ago, where do I want to be? And here I'm like, I want to see the center, but I don't want it to be dead on. And you'll see later on, it's one of the reasons why I started building up the rest, is that right now it's a little, like, we're a little bit to the left, right, of this bridge, and looking up a little bit to it. I'm like, I need to build more things around it to give it a angle. I don't want it to be straight, like looking at it. I have a couple of notes here. Let's see, so I don't get lost, because I tend to rant really a lot. So yeah, world setting. This is a good one. World setting. Obviously, that should be one of the main things you think before actually painting, is where, you know, what is the world? Where are you? What kind of game this is? Well, we know it's an MMO or any other type of multiplayer game where you would encounter other players. But where is it? Is it fantasy? What time period? Is it Earth? Is it in another planet? Is it, you know, just setting up where you are. As I was saying, I was inspired by the Final Fantasy images, and I'm like, man, this looks great. Just want to do something like that, not exactly, but use that as an inspiration and do something else while maintaining the shape language. That's exactly what I wanted to go for and what I went for. Right now, I'm using roughly the perspective lines to build up some kind of stairs here, and this is where everything starts to set in when I draw the bottom half. Well, not bottom half, but like that little bottom part, and I start adding in the stairs. Then the perspective starts to set in a lot, and the angle as well. It automatically gives it a different sense. So it's quite important where you decide to put your camera when doing these inspirational shots or setting. So yeah, that was world setting. Just keep thinking until you get into until you make a deal with yourself, like, okay, we go for this. If you have nobody to tell you what to do, if you don't have an art director and you just want to you want to do this by yourself, which I really advise you to. Right now I'm adding more, or trying to add a couple more stair lines, because I felt like I want this to be big, and those stairs, the thickness of it was a little bit too much. It was just too much, simply. So those stairs end up being much thinner, which will lead me into another point, actually, proportion. I do a lot of character work. Honestly, I do 90% of the things I do is character work. It does have backgrounds most of the times, but the background is usually not the main focus. Usually the background helps the character, but it's not the main spotlight most of the times. In this case, it's like when you draw a character, it tends to be like you're closed into the character, and automatically the environment, every single shape, it's much bigger as well. Now, when the environment itself is the main priority, you want to put your camera back, and you want to make sure that the environment occupies. There's a lot of environment pieces, so to speak, right? How many things can you add on to the environment to show space? And I feel like that's extremely important. It's one of the main things that you automatically notice is characters. You're closed in. It's pretty. You're pretty much close to the character. But once you do the buildings, your proportions if you start doing environment work like this, whatever you draw, it's gonna turn out a little bit too big. Everything you draw tends to be a little bit too big, and therefore, because of those proportions, it tends to look a little childish, or, well, I don't know how else to put it, but it just doesn't look very realistic, right? Everything is big, so you want to keep in mind that if you're drawing something, make sure you at least make it half smaller than you naturally would. I find that helps really a lot, and I keep adjusting that. Even, you see, as with the stairs, I made the stairs too big in comparison with, even though the stairs go into a close-up, they're still anyway, they were still anyway too big, and I still go back and fix it. So yeah, right now I'm adding some arches. I'm keeping the same shape language while still I still don't have 100%. I'm still not 100% sure exactly what I'm drawing, but I'm feeling it. This is all about feeling. This is all about just letting it go, but having a couple of restrictions. So my personal restrictions are shape language. Whatever I draw, just keep the shape language unified, So bunch of arches. I had arches in the breach. Now I'm adding arches throughout. I will be adding both arches and like rectangle shapes. Right now I'm doing it. I turned my canvas into black and white so that even the slight color that I just had there, it wouldn't it wouldn't mess up with my values, because color tends to create an illusion, you know. More saturated things seem to be closer to you when they're really not. So while I'm doing this, we're gonna go to, oh yeah, separation. So after the bridge, since it was my main focus, I wanted to make more space, so I did the background with a lighter color, and whatever it's coming closer, which is what I'm building on right now, I want to make sure that it's darker. So when I have this black and white, there's foreground, middle ground, and background. That's extremely important to show space. You want to show space. Even on an interior, yeah, I mean, this is a dome, so maybe I made it a little easier for me. Oh, not really. But still, even on closer spaces, you want to do as much as you can with values to show space, right? Let's say you're in a dining room, for example. You want to make the table and the chairs, if you have a shot like this that you're close to them, then that group, that area, you know, the chairs and the tables are going to be the darkest. Then as things go further away, even if it's a small room, you should separate the values from darker to lighter. Right now, I just very quickly added in some basic silhouette. I'm having a much clearer idea where I want to go. This is a busy area. I'm thinking to myself, this is a busy area. This is where a lot of players are going to meet up with other players, or, you know, the bridge is going to be more of a meeting point, or where you pass through other players and you can like check out their gear or something like that. Those stairs could be used as a hangout place, although I think I scratched that idea later on, and instead, oh yeah, okay, I'm changing the color in the middle, and I want that middle part to be water, because I was thinking there's a bridge, but why is there a bridge? You know, I mean, bridges are cool, but let's give some use. Let's unify the shapes that we have, build on to the idea, and make, you know, give some sense to it, right? So I put a water underneath, and we're gonna add a little something just in a minute. Meanwhile, I'm fixing my values. What do we have here? Oh, right. So right now I'm adding, I want to add a couple of, you know, if there's water, then maybe there's a transportation system in this world that goes by water, and it can go through the dome into the outside. So I'm adding some kind of, you know, boats, weird shaped boats. Honestly, I'm just trying to build onto something to make it look interesting. I don't want it to be just your regular, you know, experience in a normal world. I want it to be fantastic, you know. And mainly I'm playing with shapes. That's really it. Imagine this is a puzzle, right? And you have a couple of pieces. They're all, you know, you have three different puzzle pieces that they keep repeating itself. And you just build with it. You just put triangles with right here, like a triangle with some squares and in a circle. That's it. That's all there is to it. And this also brings a lot of focus, because I don't have many triangle shapes. If you notice, I have on the base of the pillars on the bridge, the endings are kind of triangular, and the torches around like on the top of the entrances. Yeah, and the boats. That's about it. Like, I'm looking at it. That's about it. Not many of those shapes, because there's so little of it, automatically catches attention. And I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity to introduce some more of those shapes to bring the eye even more closer to our main focus, which is the bridge. Right? It's all about the bridge. I believe here I'm adding some texture and working on a little bit more on this shape. I'm adding some kind of turbines to the top of the boats. And okay, so right now, once I was done with that, I'm gonna, this is my base sketch, right? This is my base sketch, and I want to use that as a guideline, so that when I start doing the real sketching, the real drawing, I won't get lost. So yeah, see you on the next part.